North Korea built their own internet, and it's basically a cage. Picture this, an entire country of over 25 million people, and almost none of them have ever seen the actual internet. Not Google, not YouTube, not a single cat video. Instead, they log on to a fake internet built entirely by their own government, running on a computer operating system designed to watch their every move and rat them out the second they step out of line. This isn't some dystopian movie plot. This is just Tuesday in North Korea. Hey friends, welcome back. Let's get into it. So, most countries, when they build out technology, the whole point is connection. Get people online, get them talking to the world, open things up. North Korea looked at that idea and said, absolutely not, and built the exact opposite. Let's start with the internet situation, because saying North Korea has the internet is honestly kind of misleading. The actual worldwide internet, the one you and I use every day, is essentially off limits to almost the entire population. Access is restricted to a small number of government officials, propaganda departments, and select foreigners, and even then it's heavily monitored. For literally everyone else, there's a substitute, a domestic, closed-off intranet called Kwangmyong. Think of it as a tiny, government-curated fake internet, a handful of state-approved websites, some educational resources, state media, maybe some scientific databases, all hosted on servers that never actually touch the real World Wide Web. It's the internet equivalent of showing someone a single hallway and telling them it's an entire mansion. And here's a wild detail. Because Kwangmyong is a closed internal network, all of its web addresses actually fall inside the address range the rest of the world reserves specifically for private internal networks. Meaning technically, North Korea's internet would look to any outside computer like a business's internal office network. That's how disconnected it is from anything resembling the global internet. Now let's talk about the operating system North Korean citizens actually use to access this thing, because this is where it gets genuinely fascinating. It's called Red Star OS, and it might be one of the most quietly terrifying pieces of software ever built for regular civilian use. Red Star OS is homegrown, built by North Korea's Korea Computer Center, based on the Linux kernel, specifically an old build of Fedora, but heavily modified for the state's purposes. Early versions actually resembled Windows XP, which makes sense since Windows was already familiar to whatever North Koreans had computer access at the time. But then something interesting happened around 2012. The whole interface got a glow-up, and it started looking suspiciously like Apple's Mac OS. Docks, menu bars, sleek icons, the whole aesthetic. And the theory researchers have floated for why? A photo surfaced of Kim Jong-un sitting at his desk next to an iMac. Just that. One photo of the leader near an Apple computer, and apparently that was enough to steer an entire national operating system redesign. Wild. But underneath that shiny Mac-like exterior is where things turn genuinely unsettling. Because Red Star OS isn't really built to serve the user. It's built to watch them. Here's how it works. Every single file you create, open, or copy gets automatically watermarked with a unique identifying tag tied to your specific machine. Doesn't matter if it's a document, a photo, a video, it gets tagged, silently, in the background, without you doing anything. And it gets worse. If you plug in a USB drive, any files on that drive get watermarked too, whether or not you even open them. So if someone smuggles in a USB loaded with South Korean dramas or foreign movies, which, by the way, is illegal and can carry seriously harsh consequences in North Korea, and that drive ever touches a Red Star OS computer, every file on it silently gets tagged with a traceable fingerprint. If authorities ever find that content anywhere down the line, they can trace exactly which machine and which user it passed through. And Red Star OS has its own built-in antivirus too. Except calling it antivirus is honestly a bit of a joke, because North Korean computers aren't connected to the wider internet, so the risk of catching a random virus is basically zero. What this program actually does is scan for and quietly delete files the state doesn't want you having. Banned media, unauthorized content, anything flagged as ideologically off limits. It's less virus protection and more government-approved content police living inside your hard drive. It gets even more locked down than that. If a user tries to disable any of these monitoring features, turn off the watermarking, mess with the firewall, tinker with system files, the operating system doesn't just block you, it throws an error, or in some cases, straight up forces the entire computer to reboot, wiping out whatever you were doing. There are even kernel-level protections that block access to certain files even if you manage to get full administrator privileges. The system is specifically engineered so that even a tech-savvy user with root access still can't fully control their own machine. For web browsing on this whole lockdown ecosystem, users get a custom browser called Nainara, which literally translates to "my country." It's actually a heavily modified, outdated fork of Firefox, and its entire job is to keep you inside the walls of Kwangmyong, the state intranet, rather than let you anywhere near the actual internet. Now here's the thing that makes all of this land even harder. Despite this insane level of digital lockdown, people still find ways around it. Some of the more famous examples involve South Korean activists literally launching balloons across the border, loaded with USB drives full of K-pop, South Korean dramas, and outside information, letting the wind carry them into North Korean territory in hopes that someone finds one before the authorities do. It's a strange, almost old-fashioned form of information warfare. No hacking, no signal jamming, just balloons drifting sensitive content over a border wall that no internet cable could cross. And in 2015, a pair of German security researchers actually got their hands on a leaked copy of Red Star OS and picked the entire thing apart, publicly presenting all these surveillance mechanisms at a hacker conference in Germany. Which is honestly a little bit funny to think about. The exact people this operating system was designed to keep totally isolated and monitored ended up having its darkest secrets fully exposed to the entire outside world at a hacking conference, of all places. So, while most of the planet spends their time arguing about how much big tech companies track our data, there's an entire country where citizens don't hand their information over to some corporation chasing ad revenue. They hand it directly to the state, built right into the operating system itself, with essentially zero choice in the matter. That's the story for you today, friends. Thanks for hanging out. Let me know what other secretive country stories you want me to dig into next, and I'll see you soon.